When we started the Flipstoration Podcast, we really didn't know where it was going to go. It was really just an experiment that we had never done a podcast before. We had never attempted to do something like that as a team. So we wanted to give it a shot. And I got to say, with season 1, we were just amazed by how well it went, and we just enjoyed it so much. So we're very excited now that season 1 is behind us, to kind of go to some new places and really jump into season 2 of the Flipstoration Podcast. It's going to be awesome. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Flipstoration Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 1, and we're just excited and looking forward to, all the things that are going to come in Season 2. So we have a lot of interesting things that will come along as time goes on. First of all, we're going to kind of release episodes in batches, so it's not going to be one at a time. It's going to be batches, so you can kind of binge listen to the Flipstoration Podcast, at your leisure, but you'll have, a handful of episodes to listen to at each batch. So we thought that could be kind of fun to do. We also have, guests that we're going to be having on. So that'll give a dynamic of storytelling very similar to season 1, which we really love. That's really kind of the basis of the Flipstoration Podcast, was this idea of bringing especially 2 different camps together, this idea of the furniture flipper and then also the person specializing in restorations. You put that together, it's Flipstoration. And so that's, for us, is sort of this coming together of these 2 different groups that sometimes don't always get along or agree. But we thought, with storytelling, what's cool is that you realize you're a lot more alike than you thought. So that's the idea of the storytelling aspect of the Flipstoration Podcast, is we really want to allow people who are not necessarily rock stars or famous in any way. We're not looking for, only guests who have huge, follower numbers on social media. We're looking for people who are just like, everyone else, just people who are doing the work every day, day in and day out. They're doing the hustle, whether it's a side hustle or as a job, they're doing the furniture refinishing and restoration gig, and they just want to share their story about their life, their business, little tips and tricks along the way about what they picked up and learned, how to do things better, more efficiently. All those little nuggets, that's the fun part. With storytelling, it's good just get a pad and paper and just kind of take little notes here and there, because people will share some really cool stuff, and sometimes you don't see it coming. It's just that little nugget that maybe is just for you. It may not be some huge thing for everybody, but it'll just speak directly to where where you're at in business, or it'll be a tip that is something you've struggled with the furniture refinishing. And that's going to just help you. It's going to give you a little boost, and hopefully it will help us all to grow together. Really, the idea of this season we really want to focus on is the idea of sharing, inspiring, and growing together. So sharing, obviously, in storytelling, but also in wisdom and in knowledge. Some of us are much further down the path when it comes to furniture flipping and restoration and refinishing and all those things. So we have knowledge we can share. My background is over 20 years of furniture refinishing and restoration on a professional level. So I hope I can just here and there share little nuggets and little things that will help along the way. I am by no means the end all be all. I think that's one thing we all have to understand, is that, there are people who know more in some forms than others. But we have to kind of come to this from a place of humility, because I think that's one of the biggest problems with growing is that if we're not willing to learn, sometimes from someone who doesn't even have as many years of experience under their belt, but they really have they have accelerated their growth somehow. They've really worked hard to learn and to think differently and think outside the box, and they may have some great tips and tricks. Things along the way that you might be like, I've been doing this a long time and I've never thought of that. I hope I have some moments like that as we're doing the podcast. I hope that someone will share something and I'll go, man, I never even thought of that. It's awesome. So I'm really hoping for those moments for everybody. But we're just really excited because I think this is a great platform to just allow people to have the spotlight for a minute who normally won't get it. The world tends to like to focus on the celebrity and on the influencer that has the big followings and the, all of that. And we're just focused on the stories of regular people who are pursuing, extraordinary work, who are really trying to do all they can to produce some really, really amazing furniture items for their clients, for sale, so that people will buy them and love them. And it's going to be fun to talk style, talk color, talk technique, all those things. And everybody's going to come with a different ratio of those things in their story. But then again, there's just that personal side. I think what's cool is when you listen to someone's story, when you slow down for a minute and you just give time to listen, you realize that people, everyone has something kind of interesting. It's wild. I mean, you don't think that you're worth being listened to, but then someone, if given the opportunity to hear your story, will go, man, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. So, things like, why did we get into this business? What was the catalyst that got us there? For some people, it was unemployment. Maybe it was prior to COVID or during COVID that it was like, what? I'm unemployed now. Or it was just that they were locked in their house during COVID, like all of us. We were all just so isolated. And maybe that was a time when it was like, what? I want to do something. I need to have I need to have an outlet. And it just made sense. Like, I'll pick up some pieces and I'll just start to do something, Could be like me. Years and years ago, grew up in it. My dad started our family business. So I just kind of grew up in it, and I never thought I would continue doing it. And here I am, it's like a huge passion of my life now, where that was not what I thought was going to happen. I did not foresee that. So we all have different ways of getting into this, this business, into this craft. And it's going to be fun to hear what led different people to the same point. And then to hear where where they've kind of struggled along the way, and also hear where they're going, because some people have big ideas. I think we underestimate people sometimes, that we think that, the average person is just that. They're just average. They're never going to do anything exciting or big. Big is also a very interesting term, because big doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be some multi-billion-dollar business or million-dollar business. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Big is kind of relative to the person. So, for me in my life, my pursuit, let me step back. I'm sort of generally just a minimalist person. I don't like a lot of toys. I don't understand why people, spend so much on themselves. I don't hate them for it or have any ill, I don't judge them. I just say, hey, you've earned the money, you do what you want with it. But for me, I've just never understood kind of all the stuff we gather, why there's so much in our garages, in our attics, in every closet, everywhere. There's just stuff. And I just don't like stuff in general. So I tend to be more of a minimalist, where I would rather accumulate experiences. So I would much rather spend a large sum of money to go on a trip and enjoy just a time away, experiencing a different country, a different place. My wife and I, we love to go to Disney, to Disney World in Florida. That's just us. We're what you call on the internet Disney adults. So we do love to go. It's just a place to kind of reconnect with the child side of us, and just kind of have fun, just to let loose and leave the stress and stuff behind us for a little bit. So we also love to go to places where we can just sit on a beach and listen to the water and look at the water and jump in and just kind of just relax. We're not, we don't need a lot. We just like to have those moments where we break away. So, that is for me, my goal. A few years ago, I was able to go to Israel on a 10-day trip, and it was just such an amazing experience. I mean, I know there's, right now as we record this, there's a lot of unrest over there, and it's sad what's happening. There's always been some unrest, but prior to that is when I was over there, and there was still things going on, but not like it is right now. And it was just a beautiful country. It was one of those places where you wouldn't necessarily select it, to go on a getaway, but it was just really, really fun. My brother-in-law is a professor in California, and he teaches on sort of just all the history of that area, biblical history, things like that. And I love to go over there and just soak in all the elements of a place. So, you have just the history of the place, but you also have like the biblical history of the place and things that kind of resonate with me a little bit more. And it was just cool. I went over there. My nieces and nephew were with me, and my sister was there, and it was just a cool trip to be able to go and experience a new place. But again, that is what I like to invest my resources into. So everybody has a different goal in mind. I remember reading once in a book. It was actually a great book called The 4-Hour Work Week. I don't know if anyone's a business book reader out there, but I highly recommend it. As I would say with any book, it's not going to be perfect across the board. You're going to find things you don't agree with, or you're going to find some things that you are really impacted by. But one of the things that was raised in that book, an idea, was that, are we pursuing money or are we pursuing freedom? Because ultimately, if you're pursuing money, when is there enough? When is there enough money? When do you have enough? Because you're always going to keep expanding your life in theory. This is what most people would do. As you make more, you spend more. And so then you need more, and you have to make more, and then you're spending more, and so on and so forth. So, when's there enough money? Versus freedom, which is when you wake up in the morning and you can say to yourself, I can choose today. I have the choice. I have the power to choose. To me, that freedom is just, it's just awesome. I mean, I don't have it fully. I don't have that fully yet. Don't get me wrong. I'm still pursuing to have some of that freedom. And it's not to be lazy. Like, my goal would never be to I have freedom to lay here all day and do nothing. I want to contribute to society. I want to help the world around me. I want to do things. I love business. I love furniture refinishing and restoration. I love all these things. I wouldn't just be happy lying around and not doing anything. So I am excited for freedom to wake up and choose, where I'm going to put my energy. Maybe it's spending the day with my wife, or spending the day with the kids, doing something that's just sort of not typically, something that everyone can do, because most people, they're in the sort of 9-to-5 grind, so that, everyone's time's different, but roughly, we call it the 9-to-5. So you're sitting in traffic on both ends, going to work, coming back from work. You're just, you're just giving up so much time in exchange for what? It's the money. And ultimately, the money is not freedom. Money is, in my mind, just fuel. It's like coal in an old train, in the movies when they would shovel the coal into the train and it would keep going and get, cranking down the tracks. Like, that's how I imagine money. Money is coal. We burn it up. It is to fuel us to get to the destination we're headed. It's not the destination. As soon as money becomes the destination, I think it's like one of those, what do they call them? The oasis in the desert. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but you look in it. Oh, the Mirage. You look at it and you go, oh, there it is. It's so close. And your mind plays tricks on you. And then you move towards it and it keeps moving away from you, or it disappears, I think that's what the pursuit of money is like. It's if that's the end game, if that's the goal, it will never really, or you'll never get there. But when you kind of set in your mind some really clear goals you have, and these goals can be huge goals. I mean, they can be big ones. I'm not saying aim small. I'm not saying sit around and just come on, stay realistic. I know I'm a dreamer. I love to dream. I love when I sit across from somebody with a coffee and just let them share their dreams. I love it because I think dreaming is such a part of it's an exercise we have to be willing to do. And some of us, unfortunately, I think in time have been taught to let go of dreaming. That dreaming is for children. It's not for adults. Adults have to get up and work and make their money, and that's the goal. Make as much money as you can. That's kind of what we were taught, some of us, whether it was meant to be taught so directly or whether it was just sort of an observation that we saw the world doing, and we said, this is what I got to do. I got to get, in high school, it's, the pressure is I've got to go to college. I've got to, because I've got to get a good job so I can buy a house and I can have all the things that I'm supposed to have and do, and all these, unfortunately that just sets people in this in motion in a direction that they don't necessarily fully understand. And sometimes midway, they realize that there's no freedom in that somehow they've ended up in their own little prison, and they go, why is it like this? Why this? There's got to be more to life than this. And so the idea of pursuing freedom over money is such a huge differentiator. And one of the things we're going to do in season 2 of the Flipstoration Podcast is we're going to just talk life and business a little bit more. And I think it's going to come up in some of the storytelling, but I also, when there's not necessarily a guest and we're just talking about things like I am right now, I think we're just going to talk about ideas. And I will say this right now. I have some thoughts and I have opinions and I have beliefs. I am not trying to cram them down your throat. I would never tell you to just listen and say that, yes, he's right because he's on a podcast. That's ridiculous. There's so many people with so many opinions. For example, some people have a faith in God. I have a faith in God. Not everyone does, and that's fine. I'm not here to cram God down your throat. I'm not here to say that somehow, that's something that, you have to have. That's something everybody's got to come to on their own, whether they want to or not. That's up to each of us. So yes, do I have a faith in God? Absolutely. And some of my, my compass, my moral compass, my life compass is definitely, dictated by that in a big way. So, some of my opinions will have that influence for sure. Just honesty and integrity and treatment of others and, loving others and all those things. These are values I have. And for me, it does come directly from my faith, my upbringing, things like that. So I will share my thoughts when I'm sharing. But again, we're all different. And I'm not saying that, it's really a conversation. It's just in this format, you're not able to talk back necessarily. I do encourage you to DM us or send us emails just to share your thoughts, because it'd be cool to kind of get those and maybe bring them up on a future episode if we can kind of get back into a conversation that maybe is cut short a little bit on one episode. I would love that because I think it's important. But the key is that this is a place we say that there's room for everyone at our table. And what that means is similar to at your house. You have the choice to invite people over that get along with you exactly and are exactly like you, and you jive with, they're your people. Or you have the ability to open your doors to people different than you and invite them to your table. And there's something about the table, something about eating food together, and having those conversations that is so powerful. And when you do that, oftentimes someone enters as a stranger and they leave as a friend. Sometimes they even enter as an enemy and leave as a friend, So I want to encourage you to think of it that way, that this is a podcast, but I really want to invite you into our, around our table, not the podcast table. I'm not talking about the one with the microphones on it. I'm talking about, our dinner table, come into our home and sit with us and share your stories and listen and we'll talk. And again, this is a tough format because you can't talk back directly, but please, listen to what I have to say, but that's me, my time in speaking. Just like if you were to talk to someone around a table, you might in your mind go, yeah, I don't agree with that. I'm not totally on board with that. And that's fine. That might come up even when we're talking about techniques and ideas around the shop. When we're talking about, when I might share my favorite technique for a specific thing, you might go, oh, I don't agree with that. I would never do it that way. And that's totally fine. But I think that if we share our opinions, in love with each other, where we kind of put each other first, and we're not here to prove that I'm right and you're wrong. And it's more about, let's just have a conversation. And ultimately, we all have to walk away from the table and just decide, what is going to stay in our life and what ideas are we going to keep and what are we going to throw away and maybe not do or not consider right now. What ideas are we going to store away because we're not sure yet? Maybe there's an idea that we're like, that's interesting. I've never thought that, but I'll keep that in my back of my mind. Maybe, that's good. That's good too. I think sometimes too, it's important not to always be so definitive when there's sometimes a desire to find the answer more than there's a desire to explore. Again, I think of when you're a kid, you go outside and you just want to explore. At least I did. I don't know about my kids today want to just be on their iPads. But I love to go outside and explore, when my parents would say, all right, go outside. All right. I went outside and I imagined everything. I imagined all these different things. I remember, imagining I was in, the Swiss Family Robinson movie, which I loved back in the day. And I had my tree house and I just imagined the whole thing, the pirates were attacking and I loved it. I loved the imagination. I loved exploring places I hadn't been yet, going and finding things in the woods and all that was so cool. And I think that's a part of life. We don't, I don't know when it dies, but like the joy of exploration where you don't know when you've arrived because you don't know what it is you're even looking for. You're just looking. You're just looking. You're just wandering in I used to go out in the woods behind our house and just wander. And I didn't know what I was looking for. Sometimes it'd be a weird looking rock on the ground. And that was the thing, even though I didn't know that was the thing. There it is. Here I am playing with this weird rock for the next 20 minutes, whatever. You don't know. You don't know what you're looking for, but the joy of looking it can be so much fun if you just allow yourself the space. So it's not about trying to always just find the answer right now. Give me the answer. I want the answer. It's sometimes just the joy of exploring. And I think, within the furniture refinishing, restoration, the flipping, all that, it's just every day a really awesome exploration and journey that you can go on. You're learning. It's not about coming out and saying, by the end of today, I want this done. Even though that, you sometimes you have to be practical and say, okay, I got to get something done today. But sometimes just soak in what you're doing. Soak in the work, soak in, just the joy of seeing something come back to life. I think that's something, being present in the moment and just letting it be a beautiful thing. Even though it might be messy work, it can be a beautiful thing if you allow yourself to slow down. If you just slow down and say, I'm going to enjoy these moments. Yes, it's work, but I'm going to enjoy it. You should enjoy your work. You really should. I think if you enjoy your work, the quote out there is if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life or something like that. And I forget who said that. I should probably know. And it's true. If you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. But that doesn't mean it's going to be great every day. I think you can really work hard and sometimes almost, you'll have those miserable days, stressful days, especially in business. If you're, if money's getting tight or if there's a customer who's unhappy and everything, those are stressful days. They are. You can't avoid those, but you could still enjoy the journey. Look at what you're learning in those moments. What are you learning? And then how can you use that? I always say, again, this is just my lens of God. I always say God takes our crap and turns it into fertilizer. So what I mean by that, and again, you could take the God piece out if you want to, but I'm saying that we should use the bad things in our life to fertilize and help other people grow. That's the idea of what I mean by that. So it's this idea when you go through something and it's awful and it's just like, I hate this. Well, when you come out of it, or sometimes even when you're still kind of in it, use it to take control of it and use it for something good. If you had a situation where you're working on a project and something went horribly wrong, don't hide that on social media. I know we're tempted because we want everyone to think we're doing awesome all the time. We want everyone to love what we're doing and think we're the best and we never make mistakes and you should follow me because I don't make mistakes. That's not true. That's not authentic. You should say, guys, today I tried gluing something and it went horribly wrong. I should never have done it this way. Please learn from my mistake. Don't do this, You should be able to share and be humble again to say, listen, guy, I'm on this journey just like everyone else. And together we grow. That's the key. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. The whole purpose of it. Yes, is it sponsored by Stripwell? Absolutely. But this is not some infomercial for Stripwell. Yes, it's going to be mentioned at the end of each episode. That's not the purpose, though. I don't want this to become a thing where we're just peddling our products within a conversation. No, I want this to be a conversation that when we collectively come together, something special happens through the conversations had through the microphones, but also through the conversations that happen in the comment sections and in the emails that come in, the DMs. I want this to be a community of people that put aside their differences to unite and to come together with where they are the same, where we are the same. And I think that is where something special can happen. And that's where Flipstoration can really take us, in one form. This is not by any means the end all be all of how we get there as a community, but this is one way that we can offer to help kind of facilitate some of that. So that is a bunch of episode 1 rambling in a sense. I just had a lot of thoughts and things I wanted to share. This is episode 1. There's not necessarily a direction here, but I wanted to sort of introduce the fact that we are excited. I am excited about season 2 of the Flipstoration Podcast, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Thanks, guys. The Flipstoration Podcast is sponsored by Stripwell. Stripwell makes the QCS line of products. If you're looking for a furniture stripper that is safe for you, safe for your projects, and safe for the planet, then look no further than QCS Finish Remover and the QCS Surface Cleanser. That is the QCS system, and that is what you're looking for. So check it out at stripwell.com, and be sure to subscribe to the Flipstoration Podcast.